Good morning. I'm a fighter today, making it through the week. It is Thursday, August 13th. Very happy top of the morning to you. Cheers. I feel like a fighter this week with everything going on. Are you guys, you parents must be as busy as I am here in Arizona with all the kids stuff and work and whatever, but I'm adapting. So it's okay. Not so bad. Definitely a fighter mug today though, and my hair is absolutely crazy today. I don't know. Sorry, you guys are going to have to put up with bedhead today, I guess. But we're going to be talking about skin today, actually. Hello. Hello. We're going to be talking about skin. Now, we've done a live before on acne, and we'll talk about that a little bit in this, but this will apply to skin in general, and how stress impacts your skin, which I think is an area that a lot of people don't always think about or know about. So I want to teach you about that. Thank you. So I'm Dr. Tricia Pingel. This is your morning checkup. Just a reminder, I won't be here tomorrow live. But I will play something. So there will be something posted. It just won't be live tomorrow because I do have an appointment off site. So, but I'll try to pick a good topic that maybe some of you missed and something fun for a Friday, which I think all of us need. So today, skin. That's what we're going to talk about. So I do have an article at drpingel.com about this with links to all the research I'm going to talk about. You ever have any questions about some of the research I'm mentioning in any of these lives, you can usually find it at drpingel.com. drpingel.com. So let's dive in. What do you say? So I think a lot of the times when you have some sort of skin issue, and this could be anything from acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, rashes, anything, we immediately think about what can we put on it, right? And often that helps locally with the inflammation, but usually the problem is coming from inside of our body. So remember this, our skin is our largest detoxification organ. So if you have something coming out in the skin, it usually means that the body is trying to purge something. Now you see this in babies when they have a virus, for example, like when my kids were little and they would get, some sort of rhinovirus or whatever, a common cold or whatever, they would usually break out in a rash the next day. And that was the body just expelling it out, right? It just wants to get out and then the rash goes away. So viral rashes are very, very common in infants for that reason. The body expels. Well, other types of conditions are no different. Even in autoimmune conditions like psoriasis and otherwise, they're usually worse when the body is trying to detoxify. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how stress can inhibit the inside of your body that makes the skin condition come out. It's pretty well documented that stress is related to those autoimmune conditions like psoriasis, definitely related to eczema, related to acne, related to rosacea. What else we got? Hives. People break out in hives when they get stressed out, right? Why? So that's what I want to talk about, this link of stress. So if these are some conditions you're dealing with and you haven't taken a look at how you're doing with your stress management, this would be a good time to kind of check on that and see if there might be something that you can improve upon, right? So if you think back to like the last time you had a problem with your skin, or maybe you're currently having a problem, take assessment of where your stress is at the moment. So I always know when I was in medical school, I would notice when, there were big tests coming up or whatever, I would get these little bumps on my chin. A lot of people relate them to hormones. I do want to talk about that as well a little bit because that ties into stress as well. But most of the time there's some sort of stress on the body that's causing the internal part of the body to slow down. And so the body tries to push the toxin or whatever it is out through the skin, if that makes sense. So let's talk about those connections. So the first connection I'm going to talk about is stress, your liver, and your skin. So people who have a very healthy liver that's just churning out toxins when they're supposed to have very bright and vibrant skin. See it all the time. I can tell your liver status by just looking at you, folks. If only I could see all your faces right now, right? I could go through and say, clean it, clean it, clean it. You're great. Clean it, right? So keep in mind, the liver is part of your gastrointestinal system, okay? And its purpose is to clear toxins, okay? And that main purpose as far as skin goes. Now, the liver does many other things, right? It manages your blood sugar, oh my gosh, the list is long. Go back and watch the liver live, okay? Liver is very, very important. But when we're talking about it from a skin perspective, we're really looking at its ability to remove toxins from the body, particularly through elimination, right? It wants to release them out and eliminate them out of you. It doesn't want to send it through the skin, okay? It wants to eliminate it the other way. So keep in mind what stress does, and we're going to come back to this a lot, and we talk about this a lot. We've got the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So that sympathetic nervous system, when you're running from a bear, you're not worrying about detoxifying. You're not worrying about what you look like. You don't even have time to look in the mirror. You're just running, right? When we move over into parasympathetic activity, that's where we clear toxins. That's where we repair our skin cells, those types of things. Very, very, very important. So when you're running from a bear, your liver is downregulated. It's not removing toxins at the most efficient level at that time, okay? It kind of just says, you know what? The garbage cans are full, but I don't have time to take them out right now. I'm going to run. I'll come back later, right? The liver has a horrible habit of saying, I'll come back later. And what happens is it starts to store that extra garbage in fat cells and in the body. So you end up with more and more garbage in the body, if that makes sense, okay? The more and more garbage you have, the more the liver has to find other ways to get rid of it, so it tends to push it out in the skin. So stress aggravates this because it slows the liver's emptying process. It says, okay, I'm going to wait to take out the garbage, and that just gives you more and more baseline toxicity. Now, with that point, if you're someone who's had, let's say, a less than stellar diet, and you move to a stellar diet, so you move to a lot of plants, liver support, you may notice that you start breaking out in rashes. You may notice that you get more acne temporarily. You may notice rosacea, right? You may have little patches of rashes that come out. Why? Because you're starting to empty the garbage. And the liver's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do this. It's starting to keep up. So once it can catch up, then it starts removing again, right? Especially if you're treating the stress. So this is a very important part of skin health that most people don't pay attention to. They're just putting creams and anti-inflammatories all over their skin and not looking at why it's happening. Make sense? Okay? So if you're having acne, psoriasis, eczema, always pay attention to the liver. Pay attention to the garbage can. Is it being emptied? Okay? I did do a live on the liver. I have an article on the liver. If you think this is your area of where you need to improve, go check those out, okay? Because they really are, there's really a lot you can do to support your liver. More importantly, you need to try to get into that repair mode of parasympathetic activity, which we're going to talk about as well in a second, okay? This moves into number 2, stress, digestion in your skin. So not only does the liver have an impact on what comes out of your skin, but your digestion does it well in a couple different ways, okay? If you're running from that bear, you're not gonna digest your food. You don't have time. So you're gonna shove the food in your mouth and run, right? If you even remember to eat, I guess, right? So when you're running and you're not digesting your food, you're not getting, first of all, you're not getting any of the minerals that you need to support skin health. You're not getting the right amount of vitamins either from your food because you're not breaking them down appropriately. This leads to malabsorption and inflammation of the gut, otherwise known as leaky gut. Have you guys heard that term? Kind of a silly term, but basically means everything's leaking out instead of being absorbed. It's not going where it needs to. You lose the intestinal integrity of the gut, which is supposed to be solid, and it starts to go like this, and all the little nutrients leak out and they get eliminated, right? So you're not getting as much nutrient. Well, skin needs nutrients, okay? Skin needs a lot of nutrients. It definitely needs vitamin C for collagen. It needs minerals. If it needs to stay hydrated, it needs minerals to drive water into the cells, right? Have you ever seen someone who's really dehydrated? Their skin is very sallow, right? So we need that for our skin. So if you're not digesting, you're not gonna get those nutrients. Also, for those of you that love dairy, I'm sorry, don't throw tomatoes at me or don't throw cheese at me. I've talked about this before. I see a dramatic improvement in skin when people take out dairy. Saw it in my own self as well. I used to get a lot of acne in the cheeks. If you can believe it, I did. And as soon as I took dairy out, within about 6 weeks, I haven't had acne since. And it's been, 20 years. But I'm not alone in this, okay? There's research on this. I'm not just making this up, okay? There's a study that showed that people who drink milk are 20% more likely to have acne than those who don't drink milk. And they're saying the reason being is that dairy products are hard to digest, and it is estimated that 75% of the world's population cannot digest dairy. So just think about that. 75% of the world cannot digest dairy, yet it's in our darn food pyramid. Are we really supposed to be eating it? I'm sorry for all you cheese lovers out there. I still love you. But if you're having skin problems, it's gotta go. So, additionally, the other thing in the gut that helps with your skin is that beautiful gut microbiome that we talk about. All these beautiful little bugs down there that help balance everything out. They're very much involved in your skin health, okay? Basically, they're involved in the inflammatory response throughout your body. So if you get a zit and you swell up really big, having a good microgut flora will keep that at bay. Okay, so that's why probiotics. That's why when you go to a dermatologist, one that, that does their research, they say, oh, you should be on probiotics for your skin. Absolutely, you should. Okay? And we're going to talk also about wound healing with that. So bear with me. I'm coming back to that. But yeah, the gut microbiome is very important. And there has been numerous studies on the gut microbiome, an imbalance of that being linked to acne, eczema, and psoriasis. So if you're someone who suffers from psoriasis and eczema, your gut flora has to be addressed. And if your stuff is not working, you need to make sure that your gut flora is addressed. Okay? All right. So we just talked about kind of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Remember that when you're in that calm mode, the parasympathetic system, which is what helps us sleep, helps us calm down. It also helps us repair our cells, okay? So have you ever known someone, or have you been under a lot of stress and you break out in hives? Why does that happen? Well, that happens because stress stimulates histamine release, okay? I had someone the other day ask about histamine lowering foods. Also take a look at your stress, okay? Because stress releases histamine. Okay, so that's a pretty well-known side effect of chronic stress. Not to mention, you also don't regenerate those skin cells as well. So we're supposed to slough off all those old cells and regenerate new cells. And if your body is too busy running from the bear, right, it's not going to do that. Your vanity is not important when you're running for your life. They don't care if you have wrinkles. Like, your body's like, whatever, take the acne, the wrinkles, the weight gain. We don't care. Just get away from that bear, right? So we want to make sure that we can calm the body so that you can stay youthful and have bright skin and all of those types of things. Okay? Okay. You guys keeping up with me? You fighting with me? All right, so let's talk about specifically the research surrounding stress and how it can ruin your skin, okay? So first of all, let's talk about wound healing. So imagine you have a zit and you pick at it and you get a scar, okay? How fast does that heal? Well, guess what? Stress will reduce that. In fact, research has shown that it will reduce the healing time. So it'll take 20% longer to heal that lesion than if you weren't under stress. So all of those that have itchy skin, or you're scratching, or you have rashes or damage to the actual skin barrier, it will take longer to heal. It was pretty cool. The study that they did with that actually looked at caregivers who took care of dementia patients. We've talked before how people that are caregivers have a higher stress level, and how much that really impacts them. And so they looked at caregivers that took care of people with dementia and found that it took 20% longer for them to heal skin wounds due to the stress of caregiving. Crazy, right? They also looked at another study where they had 53 adults, and these adults had all scored high on the anxiety and depression scale. So they were clinically anxious and or depressed. And they found that they were more likely to have delayed healing than those who scored lower. So showing that constant stimulus of stress causing anxiety, fear, worry, right? How many of you are having that right now? Hopefully you're calming down a little bit. Hopefully you're starting to realize, being in fear is not helping us. And hopefully I'm teaching you that, right? Am I? So there's a clear link between that sympathetic response and wound healing, okay? Number 2, on top of that, stress will actually increase your chances of skin cancer. And this is proven in studies. Okay? What happens is it breaks down the skin's defensive barrier, and I'm going to talk about that again in a second, and then it makes you more susceptible to ultraviolet rays and development of tumors from those ultraviolet rays. Okay, so there was an animal study where they had chronically stressed mice and found that they were not only more susceptible to these types of tumors, but they also developed the UV-induced tumors faster than those that weren't stressed. There was also a human study in 2014 that looked at adults with recent stress that had also had childhood-related stress or trauma and found that they had a harder time healing from skin cancer. In fact, they found that patients with basal cell carcinoma, which is the most common skin cancer, who had experienced a severe life event within a year of diagnosis and had also had childhood trauma, had a poorer immune response to basal cell carcinoma tumors. Isn't that crazy? Crazy, right? Makes sense, though. To me, it makes sense. Why? Let me tell you. Oh gosh, I'm like glowing on Facebook today. My light is so bright. Sorry. Looks good on Instagram. There's no sun out today in Arizona. It's cloudy. It's messing with my field of vision here. So number 3, the reason why that happens is it weakens your skin's protective barrier. Okay, so our skin has a barrier. This is actually one of our main immune system components, right? You can absorb things through the skin or you can block things through the skin, right? So especially if you're looking at skin-related rashes that maybe you're being itched or picked or whatnot, you're opening up that skin barrier and welcoming an infection, right? So stress will weaken that barrier. So you'll be more likely to see infection, okay? In fact, there was a study that showed that psychological stress worsened group A strep skin infections, okay? Now, the reason why, this was kind of cool, is they found that the psychological stress decreased 2 key antimicrobial peptides in the outer layer of the skin. So our skin has kind of a built-in antimicrobial. And that breaks down with stress, which makes you more susceptible to infection. Now, the biggest problem with that in dermatology is that what's the first thing you're put on if you show up with skin issues, acne, rosacea, whatever. First thing you're put on is an antibiotic, and usually long term. So what you're doing is you're killing off the good gut flora in addition to these skin flora. And guess what, folks? Poor gut flora causes more skin issues. So it's not always the best long-term solution. It's one thing to do an antibiotic for an acute infection for 7 days, but to be on it chronically probably is not the best long-term solution. So using more of a topical antimicrobial or using natural antimicrobials that don't kill off the good bugs is always a good option. So for those of you on antibiotics on a daily basis, take assessment of that as well, okay? Because we don't want you ruining your immune system. Okay, so there are a ton of studies, and my point number 4 is that a ton of studies show with distinct absolute that stress increases your risk of acne, rashes, sores, and more skin conditions. Okay? There are numerous studies on this. There was a study in 2017 on 144 female medical students that showed that those were exhibiting higher stress levels had more severe acne than those that weren't. So it looked at the severity of the acne. There was also another study on teenagers that found a very significant association, that's a quote, significant association between stress levels of teens and the severity of their acne. Okay, so here comes just one little point here. You know, everyone says, oh, it's a teenager, they're supposed to have acne. Well, if you took a sample, if you went into a classroom, if it was available, and you picked out 30 teenage students, let's make them all the same gender, all the same hormone, fluctuations, you'll have some with acne, some without, and then the ones with acne, they'll be minimal versus severe, right? So what's the differences? Is it always the hormone that's causing the acne? I'd like to argue no, because all of them have surging hormones, okay? Now, granted, there could be different varying balances of those, but my argument is that comes down to stress response. Diet, right, which impacts liver and digestion, and stress response. So those have to be looked at. If you have teenagers with higher stress response, they're going to have less liver detoxification. They're going to have poor nutritional absorption. So if you couple that with a poor diet, bingo, right? So you have to look at all those varying degrees. It's not always simply the hormone. Hormones have to be cleared through the liver, and they're not urgent. So if they put those in the little stored garbage can instead of clearing them out, they're going to cause more acne in certain places. And that's why when you use things like the birth control pill and whatnot, it can help minimize the acne because it lowers the overall garbage, right? So you can see some improvement, but it doesn't fix the problem. Got me? So if you're going to do something like that, take a birth control pill or something, you also need to address the problem so that when you want to come off of that, the problem isn't still there. Okay, so you always have to look at liver, digestion, diet, exercise, those types of things. Always. So that you have an option to come off of it. Otherwise, you're on it for the rest of your life, which of course, if you've got a young female that eventually wants to have children, you don't want to throw her hormones all off, right? So, I'm not opposed to medications, just to be clear. I'm integrative, but I don't think using a medication is the answer is the right thing. It's a Band-Aid while you fix where the problem's coming from, right? So that you can come off of it. That's an ultimate goal, right? Nobody wants to be on medications for the rest of their life, right? Lastly, stress will accelerate aging, okay? It breaks down the skin's collagen and elastin. Now, somebody did ask me about collagen the other day. I think it was on the Q&A, asked if they should be taking collagen. And my answer was, you shouldn't have to. If your stress levels are under control and you have all the nutrients needed, you can make your own collagen, right? But if your lifestyle is not conducive to that, or you're nutrient deficient, or you have, leaky gut, or your liver isn't working well, or you're under a lot of stress, you're going to make less collagen, okay? So really, once again, you can take it as a supplement, but that's not the answer. The answer is that's the in-between to get the levels up. You've got to fix the pathway below that as well, okay, guys? And this is one of those areas where stress can impact it. So when you're young, you have longer telomeres. I don't know if you guys were here for the aging talk. It's a good one. So the longer your telomeres, so telomeres are kind of like a frayed, or like the shoelace, like a DNA strand, and it's like these frayed ends off a shoelace, right? The longer those are, it's associated with less chronic disease and longer life. The shorter those are, the more disease and the shorter life. So stress shortens telomeres, and that has been proven. Okay? We do not want to shorten our telomeres. There was a 2012 study that looked at 50 women, half of whom were caretakers. So we can assume that they have a lot of stress, right? That's a very difficult job. First of all, any caretakers out there, bless you. You are wonderful people, and I know how much stress you're under. So just give some gratitude to what you do for other people so that you can lift your heart up and try not to take that stress in. It's very stressful. The women were told that they'd be engaging in either public speaking or math problems, okay? And those that experienced the most stress about that task had shorter telomeres. Something as simple as that showed shorter telomeres. There was also a 2009 review that looked at how stress impacts the quality of the collagen in your skin, okay? And so the more collagen, the better plump and wrinkle-free you are, okay? They stated that stress affects actual collagen synthesis. Okay, so what does collagen synthesis mean? That means the building of collagen. So once again, going back to, should you take collagen? You could, or you could make sure that you have all the ingredients needed to make your own, right? And most of the time when we're under stress, we don't have enough vitamin C, which is critical in collagen, okay, amongst other things that are required for collagen synthesis, okay? So I'm going to do a quick review. The 5 ways that stress can mess with your skin: slows healing time, accelerates ultraviolet ray damage and cancer, weakens the skin's protective barrier, puts you at greater risk for acne, rashes, sores, hives, psoriasis, and it can accelerate aging and wrinkles. Yikes. So if this was something that was interesting to you and you think to your friends, tag them, share it. Let's spread it around, okay? And there is an article at drpingel.com. The name of it is The Stress and Skin Connection. If you want to look at some of these studies in more detail, or you want to reread what we talked about today, that is where you go. If you're recognizing that you may have way too much stress or spend too much time in that sympathetic and you're not sure what to do, check out totalhealthturnaround.com. My program addresses that. Helps you clean up your diet, helps you manage your stress, figure out how to recognize those areas that need to shift so that you don't have to worry about your skin anymore. There's something very liberating about that. I worried about my skin every single day for a period of about 5 years. As I would break out, I didn't look well. I go back and look in my pictures, my skin was not as vibrant. And to be able to go so many years without even thinking about it, I literally don't even think about it anymore. And that's so freeing. So do yourself a favor, take care of your stress. TotalHealthTurnaround.com has my program. And for learning how to do that, it's a 30-day program, but you can absolutely do it for life. It includes a cookbook, how to clean up your diet, stress management techniques, and tons of information like what I'm giving you here. So check that out. drpingel.com has the articles. Please share, like, and I cannot wait to see you guys on Monday. Once again, for those of you that are joining in, I will not be here live tomorrow. I have an appointment, but I will replay something for you. So please check it out, comment. I'll go back in and answer questions, no problem, later in the day through, just writing answers in. I do appreciate all of you guys being here. Happy Thursday. Now, stop stressing and go do something fun. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye now.